Hi, thanks for coming. Uh, Sorry about our publicity and all that, and it's in Hammersmith. Hopefully the access is okay. Sorry, I've just been doing a teleconference. I'm just here to talk about the MS Register, which some of you may have been asked to join at some point, or may not have asked to join. And I was going to talk a little bit about what it is and why we're doing it. Partly, I am slightly biased because I'm helping run it, so obviously I am quite biased about it. So these are basically the MS Register is a big database, a big bunch of data that sits in a very secure area run by the Medical Research Council in Swansea, which runs all the projects for the UK behind a very secure place. So one of the reasons we got involved is because it's very secure. So these are all the people involved who are mainly at Swansea. That's just my conflict. So I just always have to tell you, don't believe a word I say. Be very, very suspicious of what I do. I'm going to talk about what it is. So what it's really about is trying to, I know it sounds a bit much, but trying to solve MS. The trouble is answering questions at a very small level with little bits of information is going to be very, very difficult. And if we're going to solve things, we have to work together, and that's working together just across different countries, different regions as well, which is what we're starting to do. And we're trying to look at about donating data. So the idea is we're trying to give data to try and get answers at a large level. We're trying to fit in with healthcare services, but not replace them. I think the problems we've had with MS nurses in the community, the difficulties we've had ongoing with getting access to support is a real problem. So we don't not want to replace that with an online system. I think face-to-face, seeing people, having people to work things out for you is essential. So that's not meant to be taking over from healthcare, as I say. The aim is to try and help that and also give more outcomes. So the idea that we've been working on is giving this back to the person seeing people in clinic and to the person taking part so they can get more data and have more information about their condition. And the other thing is, which I'll talk about, is it's a platform to try and do new things, but also to start to do research at a bigger level in the UK. It was planned essentially by using people's data, clinical data and other data, and it's all funneled into this register. And the people at Swansea are very good at data. I'm not. And at the moment, there's 46 centres. So there's clinical centres in the UK. So there's 13,000 people who signed up. So when you sign a form, if you sign a form here, that makes it a clinical centre. You're part of a clinical centre. But there's also an online access, which doesn't necessarily link to that about it. And that gives you access to further information, filling in questionnaires. So on that side, we usually have lots of questionnaires to do, which we've now been doing since 2011. And we've already managed to show some things that have not been done before, but there's looking at lots of different aspects of MS. The trouble is, and lots of you are probably aware that we talk about the EDSS, which is this measure of disability. But it's a very narrow measure of how people are impacted, and I think it really doesn't capture what we want to capture. But basically, it uses these MSIs 29, which is a score about MS. HADS is about depression and anxiety. The EQ5D is about quality of life, which is used by NICE. The EDSS is an online EDSS, and fatigue, but also about other things such as symptoms and stuff that we don't always capture. It's quite difficult to capture every time you see someone that this thing has happened to people, that people forget that. And also what treatments they're on. So we've got about 16,000 people who are online with 13,000 offline who are on the NHS. I don't know what the total number is, but at the bottom it's 20,000 people have used this so far in the last 8 years. But there's a lot of information, so there's 57,000 questionnaires, so there's a lot of data about it. So the question is whether we can use that information. So this is where everyone is on the left. Right is where people are, and on the left is centres. So there's a lot of people all over the country that we're capturing now. So we're capturing a lot of data. We work closely with Northern Ireland and in Scotland. So why do we need this? So first of all is that we want to try and keep a record of people's MS. It's very difficult now with everyone moving around and electronic systems, which we have, where everything seems to fall apart, that we want to be able to keep a record of your own MS, which is your record. So we can see that, and we can read the record of how people are at each point in their condition. And we can actually then learn more about how MS impacts the person. just a few minutes sitting in clinic doesn't always capture the real impact of that. And I think that's one of the difficulties we have, not only for us, but also for the people who pay for the drugs, such as NICE and the NHS England, who basically would like to sweep everything under the carpet. And again, because it's quite cheap, he says it's actually something that we can run for many years, which is one of the things I've probably talked to lots of people about, is what's the long term, is the real important thing that we're trying to, the sort of, it sounds horrible, the game we're trying to play. So what we've done in it now is that down here, as you can see, we're actually giving a graph back. So we're actually showing how people are affected, so people can actually see their information. It's all your own information, as I say, and it's under your control, so no one else. And if anyone does anything extra beyond that, you have to then sign a separate access to do that. And when we've done this, showing people information, we've actually got about, 600 to 3,000, lots more people got involved when they can see their information. I mean, there was some concerns about, I don't know what people think, about people seeing stuff that maybe their condition is a bit worse, but overall the feedback's been very positive about seeing that situation, because we can get a realistic view of how people are affected. And also for us, our idea is if we give drugs, which I can't show you now, but we've just shown that some of the drugs actually do make a difference, which we then feed back to NHS England, which helps our argument to get the medications. But also how it affects people. So fatigue, mood, quality of life, and other things, how they mean to interact. So there's a lot of interest at the moment about how other conditions such as blood pressure, diabetes, there's something about metformin, other drugs out there that whether they are good or bad in these situations. So we're able to look at things like metformin, because we have a large population of people who've been on this treatment, and get some idea of how effective they might be. Again, we can do it for a long time because it's cheap. And it's hopefully low impact. And at the moment, people have to fill the questionnaire in about every 6 months. Well, you don't have to fill it in. You can fill it in every 6 months about it. So this is something we've shown that's a bit complicated. It's a graph that's showing if people have smoked, they do worse than people who don't smoke. So I know it sounds fairly, that was shown in 1950, but it's just important to see in MS that actually makes a difference to their condition. So this is what we're working on. But we're able to do this because we have nearly 10,000 people data and information to try and show that information, which we don't normally get. We wouldn't get at our centre ourselves. So it gives us a chance to look at a lot more detailed and lifestyle things. And also doing trials. So this is the MS Stat2 group when we were in York. But we've done a number of studies, vitamin D studies, which we're all waiting to see. We're linking with the tissue bank. We're linking with MS Stat2. And we're actually talk about a big trial across the whole of the UK, and the MS register's probably going to be the backbone to hold that together, to manage people's information securely. But also starting to do other things, such as trying to have some kind of system, CBT, available online, and allow some of these online approaches, as I say, not replacing, but online approaches to give people more access to support. So where are we going? So that's where it is, basically questionnaires. So we've just set up so we can set up MRI. So people will be able to see their MRI scans from wherever they come. So hopefully we suck that in. There's always a data problem in terms of amount of energy, say, but sort of kilobytes, all that sort of thing. But the idea is that people will be able to see their own scans. And if you allow it, the doctor or the healthcare professional you're seeing would also be able to see the scans serially over time, which again would be a really advantage, not just for you, but also for people who have seen people over a long time. We've also just set up, there are some people who've been helping us do some cognitive testing, so some memory testing. So we've just set up this, just setting up this through the register so people can do testing of their memory online. And one of the problems we have, I'm sure this is in the memory testing, is that memory testing in the UK, in the world, is done based on IQs of 100. So if people are very good or it's difficult to know how people have changed if they're not below a normal IQ, because it's whole populations. So this enables us to capture more sensitivity about how the memory is affected and other things are affected, but also over time. So luckily there's somebody here, or not in this hospital, Adam, who has done hundreds of thousands of people online and measured their memory. So we have all these tests set up. So they're all going to be running. And hopefully what the idea would be that people would have their set of tests to do, and then every few months they'd be able to repeat their own tests, which are relevant to them. So that's the idea. not quite there yet, but it is working, and some people, maybe not here, have helped us, and you may be asked to help if you're part of the register. So we've also started collaborating with people. So this is with pharmaceutical industry, but what we've shown is this is helping inform policy with the NICE, FDA for the US submission. This is telling us where costs are, how much MS costs people. And what we've shown recently is that 20% are indirect costs, so additional costs that we're not capturing at the moment. So it's again helping us understand more about how people are impacted. And this is some work we've done with the US, the NARCOMs, and Germany, the MSFP. So we can see this is how people start treatments, and I'm sure maybe we're aware of that. In America, the blue line, by 4 years, basically everybody started treatments, and in the UK, 20% of people haven't started treatments yet. As I say, so it's telling us why the trouble is the drug companies, people don't really like us to see cross comparisons well, certainly across Europe and even across the US. They certainly don't like to know exactly what's happening. But you can see, and then we can investigate, why are people getting access? What are they getting access to? What's different between us? Is anything significant there? And this is something we're just doing, which is coming next May, which is run by Sweden. And again, so looking at, there's a new drug coming out, siponimod, for secondary progressive MS. And so starting to look at all the things that secondary progressive MS, trying to capture where it is, because we don't know how it's diagnosed, who's got it, what's not. A lot of people are on treatment, but now we have a specific therapy for it. We need to sort of think how we're going to place that. So that's also going on. So again, a little bit more complicated. This is more research. We're looking at repurposed drugs. So metformin is one of these drugs, which we're looking at the moment, but we've also looked at sodium channel blockers, which are something that was tried a few times, and using the register. It's a bit complicated slide, but essentially it doesn't make any difference, and it didn't make any difference in the trial, and it didn't make any difference. So we're starting to actually look at it, potential candidates, quite cheap. It just took a few days to do. So it's something that you can start to work up and look for things that might be very interesting early on. Again, we're starting now to do this for other studies. So there's a study called Chariot MS, which is a condition about people looking at upper limb function, run from the London Hospital, which we're part of. This consortium of progressive MS, which is a big trial, which is run by Professor Chataway in UCL. So that's going to be run structured through us. So we've also just started working with George Jelinek from the Jelinek diet to try and do a diet-based study, because we can do that hopefully online. Again, try and capture all that. And also with some of the work that Adam at UCL is looking at, trying to put on some online training. Once we can measure memory, we need to see if we can try and help people. So that's it really. So all I can say is it's out there, and if you'd like to take part, it would be really good. It's helping us answer bigger questions.